Now, I'm always extra curious when a watch brand releases a watch that's unlike anything that they're known for, basically, just to see how that brand might attempt this, completely unfamiliar to them style of watch. And that's kind of what we've got here. This is another watch from RZE, which they sent over, so thanks to them. You'll find a link to it in the video description. And they're primarily known for outdoorsy kind of field watches with lots of durable features and functions. But they've now gone and released what I can only describe as a dress watch, pretty much. Now, they're not calling it a dress watch anywhere. In fact, they actually call it a field watch, and it's also called the Resolute 36. The Resolute being the field watch that basically launched this brand. However, this one looks nothing like its forebearer, as you'll see in a moment. So yeah, I'm intrigued to hear in the comments once you've seen this, what genre you think this one slots into. Is this a field watch, or is this actually a dress watch? Telling us here that it features their Ultra Hex coating, which we'll look at in a second. Yeah, definitely has slightly higher end packaging these days. And here we go. And wow, yeah, that's actually pretty punchy dial on that one. So yeah, thanks to RZE for sending in this review sample at my request. And well, you can see why I requested it, because this looks nothing like their previous watches. Well, the case is pretty similar, which I will get close to in a moment. That dial, that kind of blood red dial in this case, is definitely something completely different for this brand. And here it is, the Resolute 36 from RZE. And straight away, you can see what I mean, can't you? I mean, is that a dress watch dial or what? Surely. And a pretty good looking dress watch dial too. This is one of the first times they've really experimented with sunburst patterns like this in the center. And that's also combined with like the mottled textured finish on the chapter ring there, which is more like what they've previously done. And I have to say, even from mid-distance here, this is a pretty good looking piece. Does look just as good as in the photos. And a nice applied logo there. Might be the first time I've seen that on an RZE watch as well. Now the case is in some ways really similar to previous RZE watches. Now if you do think this is a dress watch, I bet you haven't seen one made of this before. This is actually a titanium watch, and it's got their Ultra Hex coating on as well, as you saw from that card at the start. And this is basically like a hardening treatment that is unbelievably effective, actually. And you wouldn't know it because on the surface here, it doesn't look too far off stainless steel. It has only a slight gunmetal hue to it, but it's lighter in tone than most other titanium watches you might have seen. And in my big scratch test video that I did, this basically was a top performer. It outdid everything except for ceramic, essentially, and it completely smoked the other titanium offerings, including Citizen's Super Titanium. Yeah, this lasted, I think, 3 or 4 levels higher, which is a huge difference as far as scratch performance goes, potentially making this the most durable dress watch out there. But yeah, the shape of that case is still pretty angular, just like some of their other field watches. They also say online that this is their thinnest watch to date, especially of this style, so we'll definitely get the calipers out in a moment. It does also have some pretty nice polishing on the bezel here too. Not often RZE have experimented with polishing, so good to see them make a start with that. Would like to maybe have seen a bit more of that on the case itself though. Not sure exactly how possible that is with this Ultra Hex treatment, but do think that maybe that would have rounded it out a bit more. And I'm just surprised at how well they kind of go together, you know. It doesn't look bizarre having that dressier dial with this case for whatever reason. It certainly wouldn't have sounded so good on paper. So I'll give you a close-up here while I run you through the specs real quick. So yeah, we've got that titanium case there with the Ultra Hex coating on. You get 100 meters of water resistance, or 10 ATM, and I noticed just there that is with a screw-down crown as well, which feels very smooth actually. Not often you get a smooth crown on titanium watches for whatever reason. I always assumed that was just an inherent property of the material. We also have a screw down case back just on the back there too. And under the hood we have a Miyota 9039, which is like the go-to good choice these days for sub £1,000 watches. Does enable watches to be pretty thin like this one. It's also got a sapphire crystal with what it says here is an inner side super AR coating. And the coating on this is definitely above average. Not the absolute best I've seen, but definitely serviceable enough. Much more more clear, as you can see, than some of the cheaper options from the likes of Orient, for example, whose anti-reflective coatings pretty much don't do anything. But yeah, this one's pretty clear. You can still see that red quite nicely. It does come in 3 other colours too. Black, a green, and then I think it was a light blue as well. That one also looked quite nice and icy. And by default, it comes on this titanium bracelet too. I believe this also has the Ultra Hex on, if I'm not mistaken. Not an absolute perfect match to the case there, and the difference is exacerbated a bit just by it being a different angle, as you can see, so they never strike the light at the same time, but I'd say it's probably just about close enough. Also has here, as you can see, a nice clasp here, which I think may still be titanium as well. Might be 1 or 2 steel bits in there, but mostly titanium. And I do wonder, has this got any concealed micro adjustment? Yes, it does. And this seems to operate just like some of the other mechanisms I've tried on other watch clasps, where you push down this little lever here, and then you can slide it out and across, and then you can see the track there at the bottom. Does feel a little on the stiffer side, this mechanism, as you can probably tell, but overall still better than the standard micro adjustments, no doubt, because you can use these on the fly. All seems to be solid links too, and from the looks of it, they're screw links as well, which means that they should be extra easy to change. Now, I believe this may just be a press sample unit, so I'm not sure if the standard retail units come with a tool or not. But yeah, you would need a pretty small screwdriver to adjust those. Oh yeah, they're saying here that that bracelet system is called Quick Click, apparently. Not heard of that one before. And as you might imagine, given all those specs, it is towards the higher end of what I typically cover on this channel as far as price goes. At present, this is retailing for £580 on the RZE site, which is just over $750 according to Google here, which, to be honest, seems like a pretty fair price for what you're getting, I'd say. Not the cheapest watch, of course. And also you are straying into big brand territory, no doubt. But not many big brands make watches with materials like this, or should I say none. And yeah, really unusual combination. The dial does look pretty clean under close examination too. I'm getting as close as I can here. And yeah, looks fairly clean. Looks like we have a reasonable amount of luminescence too, so I'll definitely give that a try out in a moment. I honestly can't remember how good RZE luminescence is. This brand, by the way, is based out of Singapore. They've been going for some time now. Must be, yeah, it says established 2020 here, and co-founded by one of the guys behind Boulder watches. Let's get those measurements real quick, shall we? Because it is quite a compact watch, more so I think in person than it looks on camera here. If I measure kind of the narrowest point that's still across the width, it is somewhere close to 36mm, 35.8. But if you include like the bulges and the crown guards, it is a chunk bigger. It's just a hair under 37mm, with a bezel size for comparison of 34.5. And look to lug does seem pretty short on this one. Yeah, 42.3 I'm getting there, which is very short indeed. And the thickness, which they mentioned on their site, is, yeah, sub 10mm, which is fairly good for an automatic watch, no doubt. And here's a quick look at it on my small 6.25-inch wrist here. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting somewhat of Zelos vibes about this one. Something about the combination, perhaps, of like a slightly dressier dial and then this more angular case reminds me of Zelos. But yeah, as you can tell, does wear pretty small, this one. So certainly one to steer clear of if you've got really big wrists. And fits my wrist really well, I've got to say. And yeah, very slim on-wrist profile there. Virtually no under lug space, so no big gaps or anything like that. Yeah, really cool looking watch. Certainly an exclusive one. Not many watches that look like this, especially with this red colour. This is the one that stood out to me, which is the one I requested, because I don't think it's very often that you find a good looking red watch, and this is one of them, I think. Handset's also an unusual choice with this. Not often you see those either. You'll have to remind me again what handset that's specifically called. Is it Lance Hands, maybe? There are just so many, it's hard to keep a track of them all. And I suppose we better see if the lume on them is performance, eh? And in fact, we got much more lume than I expected. We'll see how much of that stays when the torch goes out. Not really anything on the seconds hand though from the looks of this. Yeah, that's a pretty sweet pattern indeed. Definitely not the absolute brightest that I've come across, but I'd say it's still pretty impressive for a dress style watch. Not often you get any luminescence on more of these dressier watches full stop. Whereas this, especially that on the hands, does give you at least serviceable performance. So there's your first look at this intriguing kind of hybrid watch from RZE Watches, the Resolute 36. It's linked in the video description if you don't want to check it out for yourself. Overall, I do quite like this. It really doesn't look like anything else, does it, with those kind of shoulders there. I think it's going to take me some time to work out exactly what I think of this watch.